reaction video. 2. The strongest stand in JoJo, according to Araki, by X-Force. Or X-Force. That's the right name. So let's begin.
Stand in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This is a debate as old as stands themselves, as fans power scale and pit their abilities head to head to try and decide who's the best. Even the characters within the series have questioned the power scaling of stands and have discussions about them, with Dio claiming some stands to be the weakest and others to be the strongest. And hell, I pretty much started making content because of these questions.
So, the reason why we're watching this video is because a lovely person called Afro said that, we would be watching a video on stands. And I wanted to make a video where I get to talk mad shit about the funniest thing in the world. Wonder of You is nothing compared to Ryuga from Beyblade, as he would speed blitz him and kill him instantly. Oh, you thought I would forget to stop joking on that. Nah, I beat the dead horse until that motherfucker turned to glue.
Through my series of standoff videos. So it's of course a fun discussion to have that could potentially have a definitive answer. Although the series creator Hirohiko Araki's approach to power is not as simple as one might think, as typically the strongest stands in the series of course belong to the main JoJos and main villains, as by the end of each part it's a clash between their powers to see who will overcome. Although unlike other series, like say Dragon Ball for example, where a character's power is determined by a number or their pure strength and speed, the unique part about JoJo is that Araki approaches his characters in a completely different way than most series, as instead of making villains
I
stronger
would make a
as the
video.
series continued, he strived to
I
make
changed
them
my mind.
different from what came before, as stands possess some of the most unique and bizarre abilities in all of manga, making it almost impossible to determine the outcome of certain encounters, like the age-old question of Dio's time stop versus Diavolo's time skip. What would really happen if these two characters fought, and how would their powers interact? Sure, it can be fun to theorize and discuss, but it would never really answer the question of who is stronger. So for this dilemma,
he said
let's
so
look towards
himself.
Araki himself, the creator of these powers, and find out what stand he considers to be the strongest ability he ever wrote, diving into some of the mind-bending ideas such as King Crimson, Made in Heaven, D4C, and The Wonder of You. But before we can uncover the strongest stand in JoJo, let's talk about the
Wonder of
strongest way
You
you
doesn't
guys
seem that
can
strong to
protect
me.
your online activity and take full control over your internet experience. With the sponsor of
We will
today's
see
video,
when it happens.
Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is a virtual private network that
So,
fully encrypts your online identity
I am enjoying
and
this person's
activity,
breakdown,
keeping your personal data
but I don't
protected
enjoy it
from
enough
big
to
company
watch
activity and sensitive data from
Surfshark.
anyone looking to take advantage of available on mobile countries. Because you can, aren't you tired and over? You will have, if you want to watch Shark and send off zero risk for Shark VP the video. And Araki found that depicting the forces of the world that cannot be seen through stand abilities to be the peak of his creativity. This is why the main villain's powers controlled the forces of time, fate, and gravity. These invisible forces woven into the fabric of reality bending to one's will, which is a truly terrifying idea. As Dio was able to stop time to all of those on Earth and possibly beyond, being able to temporarily exist in his own world.
Pretty much.
Kira was able to rewind time, trapping his targets in a loop destined to relive their death. Diavolo was able to change fate by skipping through time, breaking free from his destined path. And Father Pucci, through evolving his stand to Sea Moon, was able to influence gravity and eventually time, accelerating time to a singularity point which reset the entire universe. So yeah, they're all pretty powerful abilities and complex ideas. But in terms of strongest, it depends on how we determine what makes a stand strong.
I'm sorry, he reset the universe. That seems pretty busted to me.
The laws of nature, how much destruction it can cause, or how large of an impact the stand can have on the universe. As these stands can all be measured in different ways. Although according to Araki, none of these stands are what he considers to be the strongest. Not even Gold Experience Requiem, which in theory could overwrite any of the previously mentioned stand powers, completely nullifying their abilities. So if none of these stands are the strongest, let's move into the alternate universe. In the 7th part of JoJo, Steel Ball Run, Araki would create Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, a stand with the ability to access an unlimited number of parallel worlds, pushing his depictions of these invisible forces to its absolute limits, introducing the idea of a multiverse as a canon within the series, as the stand user Funny Valentine could hop between dimensions, interacting with alternate versions of himself and others, and even pull people between dimensions, creating anomalies in space-time that I'm sure even Valentine himself couldn't fully comprehend, as the law of nature is that two people from alternate dimensions cannot exist within the same time time and place, as their bodies will be forced together and obliterated out of existence, correcting the
Jesus.
anomalies. Valentine, of course, being an exception to the rule, as his stand was able to bypass this phenomenon. So while D4C may not be as widely impacting as, say, Made in Heaven, I would definitely say it goes further beyond any original universe's
Spider-Verse
stand's
is also JoJo
capabilities,
reference.
being able to travel
That's
limitlessly
no, I'm
between
sorry.
dimensions, which is a
There's
greater
been more
force than time itself. And as
alternate
if this
universes that have
wasn't
been around
powerful
far
enough,
before JoJo.
D4C
Sorry.
eventually progresses further into D4C Love Train, using the power of Jesus Christ himself to manipulate the alternate universe's depiction of fate, which is the invisible flows of positive and negative energy within the world, placing Valentine in a gap in space unaffected by any negative energy
23rd
within
American
the
president.
universe.
The
The
fuck?
only ability that was able to overcome Love Train's gap was Tusk Act 4, which created an infinite source of energy, literally infinity, which could break through Love Train's interdimensional barrier and imbue him with the infinite spin, which controls time, gravity, and the ability to cross through dimensions, following Valentine no matter where he traveled,
He
constantly
God
pulling
now?
him back
Bro, come on
underground to
now.
where he was first struck by the attack, an ability Valentine could only describe as a calamity. So we are getting closer to the strongest stand, but even after all of these powers, Araki still does not consider any of them to be the strongest. And that brings us to part 8 and the Wonder of You, where Araki would write what he believes to be the strongest adversary. In the author notes of JoJolion Volume 27, the final volume of the part, Araki would
Wonder
write,
if you
who's
still getting
stronger,
soloed by
Godzilla or
Ryuga from
Ultraman?
Beyblade.
That's always been on my mind ever
Deal with
since
it.
I fantasized about it as a child. Even when writing JoJo, this type of topic is not something I can avoid. Who is the strongest villain? What is strength? And what is peak fortune? I've decided that the strongest and most terrifying adversity one can face is called calamity. Calamity attacks irrationally, but is actually bound by a certain logic and will encroach every person equally. It's too powerful, and trying to overcome it might in itself be beyond hope. So according to Araki, calamity is the strongest ability, and in turn that would make the Wonder of You the strongest stand. But what does the Wonder of You actually do? Sure, something about calamity and chains of logic, but what really is calamity and how does the stand use it? So like pretty much every other stand we have discussed, the Wonder of You does not create calamity. Same as Valentine does not create other dimensions and Diavolo does not create fate. Their stands are merely tools that allow them to manipulate a force that already exists. So Calamity on its own is already a force within the alternate world of JoJo.
I don't
Same as time
see where
and
this is
gravity.
going, but
So the
come on.
Wonder of You is essentially able to manipulate Calamity energy and redirect it at will, specifically towards anyone who chooses to pursue Toru or the head doctor, which is just another physical form of the stand. But where does Calamity energy come from and why is it so powerful? In this alternate universe, Araki explores the philosophy of existence and what it truly means to exist. As everything in this world that exists is trapped within a balance of positive and negative energy. This concept can be viewed as the alternate recreation of fate from the original universe. In Golden Wind, why do bad things happen to good people? Because fate exists, a predetermined destiny caused by unseen forces. In the alternate universe, why do bad things happen to good people? Because they exist within the flow of calamity, and everything within this flow is at the mercy of the balance of positive and negative forces. This is all pretty much an overcomplicated interpretation of good and bad luck, but viewed in a way that binds these irrational occurrences to a universal logic. So think of existence as a bubble, sealed off and inescapable, and within the bubble is an equal amount of positive and negative energy, perfectly balanced, like a yin and yang sign. And everything which exists is also within the bubble, bouncing around in unpredictable paths, encountering an equal amount of positive and negative energy at random moments. And the Wonder of You's ability is simply to trap someone within the negative energy, an inescapable flow of calamity, which in a way is a manipulation of fate by controlling the path of one's existence. But this ability in practice isn't necessarily more powerful than any of the previously mentioned stands, especially the past main villains. It's just harder to overcome. As in the manga, its power is visualized by characters encountering bouts of bad luck, such as knocking into things, getting hit by a car, cutting your fingers in the kitchen, or a plane door falling from the sky and hitting you. Just completely random occurrences of bad luck as a result of being placed in that negative flow. So I believe the reason why Araki claims Calamity to be the strongest adversary is because of how universal and overwhelming it is.
Afro, you still
stopping time is
this
powerful,
supposed to
and it does
sell
stop
your
time
point?
for everyone, but not everyone feels or notices its effects. And the same for King Crimson and D4C. Made in Heaven is kind of the exception here, but that's more of a one-time use ability that just resets everything and that's over. Calamity, on the other hand, is a representation of literally all of the negative energy in existence. It's irrational and unpredictable and could affect anyone at any time to varying degrees. If we say that Araki's philosophy of positive and negative flows is how the world really works, then you, me, and everyone else watching this video have encountered the power of calamity in some form. It affects our lives in
I
tangible
do say
ways
this
and
at least.
leaves in its
JoJo is
wake
a
pain and sorrow.
magnificently
It's
beautiful
completely
series.
unavoidable and something we can't overcome. A force which affects everyone within
Although I've
existence
not
to
said
equal
much
amounts.
shit
And I
since
believe it's
part,
for
I
this
think,
reason why
3,
Araki
and I
considers this
stopped at part 3.
power to be the strongest. So I don't necessarily think Araki is saying
And
the
then
one
occasionally I'll
review
hear
is the
shit about it,
strongest
but
stand in
I will be
JoJo.
shitting in
Rather, the
JoJo.
force it's able to control is the most powerful concept Araki has explored so far with his writing, far greater than time, fate, gravity, and parallel dimensions. So by default, that might actually mean that Soft and Wet Go Beyond is the strongest stand in JoJo, as its ability allows it to exist outside of reality and go beyond calamity itself. But
Hmm.
does that also mean the stand could go beyond time and gravity? I'm not so sure.
If you're
So I
outside
guess
of
the
reality,
debate can
what is the
continue
meaning of
forever
time and
and
gravity?
always for who is the
It
strongest
upgrades
stand in
damage, so if
JoJo. And
someone
maybe in the
throws a
JoJo
pebble
lands,
to
Araki
you,
will write
it can
something
break your
even
whole
more
arm.
powerful
Okay,
than
okay,
Calamity. And that
I
is the
understand
strongest
that,
stand
but
in
like,
JoJo, according to Araki
it
himself.
doesn't
Thank you all
seem
so
to
much for watching the
matter
video, and be
if the
sure to leave a
person's
comment
too
leaving your
strong.
case for the
Ryuga's
strongest
just too
stand
damn
in
good.
JoJo. Like the video if you enjoyed,
The
subscribe for
statual
more, be
difference
sure to show some love.
don't mean shit in this situation. I'm sorry. Anyways, this has been the end of this video, so please have a lovely fucking day. And goodbye. 38 minutes.